Hello everyone and welcome to my Dungeon Defenders development kit tutorial, and this is just going to be a guide on the very basics of Unreal Engine 3, and then we'll go into some Dungeon Defenders specific stuff that is not in any tutorial online. So what you want to do is go ahead and launch your Dungeon Development kit. Obviously if you haven't got it installed yet, you should do that. Click the launch mod editor at the top button, and when it asks you to script rebuild, the first time you launch this program you have to click yes, but every other time click no, unless you are doing some coding or anything like that. So wait for it to launch up. And in the description are going to be two links. One to a level template that I've created, which has things like bosses included and has better pathing settings. And there's also Martin's Kismet tutorial, which goes over specific Kismet functions that you might not use otherwise. Now, obviously, we're going to go through and talk about what any of that stuff is in a bit, if you don't know what that is. But generally, just for now, you just need the bolt down level template. So now that your program is launched, file, open, and then go ahead and find your level template. Double click on it, and you'll see that it comes up with some errors. And you can see that you're in a map. Now, some of the most basic things is learning how to control your character and some of the ways to build maps. Again, there are better tutorials on the internet that I'm ever going to be able to make, which will be also linked down below. But I will go over the basics real quick just so we're all on the same page. So the first thing is right click on this 3D view to move your camera. And while you're holding right click, you can do WASD to move around, Q and E to go up and down. Okay, that's the basic movement stuff. Obviously, you've got this top down view, side view, and then the other side view. A lot of people actually hide these and just put them away. I personally quite find them useful, but if they're annoying for you, just get rid of them. Now that you know how to do the basic movement, we can start talking about how to build a map. Now, there are three main ways that you can add stuff to your map. And that is with the first way, the terrain. Second way is using pre-existing meshes in the content browser. And the third way is using brushes. So I'm going to go through them in that order. The first one is the terrain tool. So click Tools and click New Terrain. Your patches is just how big it is. I'm just going to set it to be 64 by 64. And click Finish. Now this is going to put a huge flat bit of geometry you can play with. You can see at the top left there's a terrain editing mode. If you click that, you can get loads of options with your terrain. Just for now, we're going to talk about content browser in a bit, but I'm just going to open the content browser. I'm going to search for materials, and I'm going to search for grass. And I'm going to see all the grass materials in the game. And I'm going to just click this one. Right click on your blank space and click New Setup Layer from Material Auto Create, and just click that. And you'll see that it applies that material to my terrain. Now I can click Increase Tessellation if you want it to be a little bit higher quality, and that will basically let you, it will be less blocky when you also resize it. Now these terrains are really easy to make lots of geometry with, because you can just hold Control, click on this paint on the height map, and then just drag it, and you can see you can add hills really easily or whatever else. This is a great tool, but I wouldn't rely on this to build your maps, because if you just use hills and stuff like that, it kind of looks kind of samey. But it is a great tool to use alongside with the other two. That being said, the next one of using meshes, you can click on the content browser again and click back on the root. And instead of clicking materials, I'm going to click on static meshes, and you can see that this is basically a list of every single mesh that's ever used in the game. So you can just scroll down and have a look what you got. I'm just gonna maybe search for a box or something. Perfect. Put that down. Now, with objects in the world, you have all these buttons at the top left, like move mode. I can move it around. Rotation, which lets you rotate it. Uniform resizing, which means you can resize it. Everything the same. And then like one-way scaling, so you make things thicker or whatever. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. Use my top-down view. A lot of people don't use the top-down view, but I do. So over here, perfect. Now, the next thing we can use is brushes to add stuff to the map. So if we click this cube tool here, you'll see that it puts this little red cube in the level. Now this is your brush, okay, and you can edit this brush in many ways. Think of it like an empty brush that you can paint in later. So at the moment it's just a cube, but we can click on this geometry mode here, and you can see that I get more options. So I could make this, you know, a rhombus by doing it like that, or whatever else. And you can click extrude here if you wanted to extrude a face as well, so you can make it like that. Whenever you're done with your brush, you can click this GSC add button over here, and it will fill it in. You can also click this subtract button right next to it, which deletes from existing. There are also these pre-made shapes and sizes, so you know, a cone, a stairs, you know what I mean? And you can right click on this, and it gives you all the options that you can change. So for instance, with that cube, I could have made it hollow, and it would have an inside, and you can change the thickness of that. The brushes are used very much in a lot of maps because they are very useful to use. Now that your brush is in the world, you can apply materials to it. So open up your content browser again. Go ahead and search for a material. I'm searching for wall here. You can hold Alt and click on any surface to apply it. Alternatively, if you wanted to apply it to a lot of surface, if you're a really complex brush, you can right click, select surfaces, and do matching texture, and then hold right click and click apply material, and it will do it to all the surfaces on the object. And that's the basic of brushes. Now that I've shown you the very basics on building a map, you can follow the tutorials in the description if you know nothing else and you're struggling with Unreal Engine 3. Generally, this tutorial was just focused on Dungeon Defender specific stuff because you can find way better tutorials out there on the internet. So now that my map is done, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some Dungeon Defender stuff that you're not going to find in any tutorials online. Now, what I want you to do is go over to your original level template and go ahead and select one of these notes, and go ahead and hold Control and click one of these Dundef billboards and copy and paste. Just drag these both over to your main level. Now that's all you need to make a spawn point for enemies, is just both of these. So drag this up. I'll put it right there, perfect. Now, click on your Kismet button, which is at the top left, and ignore all of this stuff for now. All I'm going to do is click on the sequences part, click plus again, select the per level wave spawner sequence, open it up again, click spawn area 0 for instance. Now this is each one of these is your individual spawn areas. Now a lot of maps actually have more than 5, and you can copy these later if you need more. But the first thing you need to click on is this undefined thing right here, which is your wave entry. Now this is a list of every single mob in the game, or like what you want from spawning. And for instance, right now it's just an enemy orc. There's a number of enemies, but specifically there's a minimum master wave. And right now, because our level has nothing set up, it's starting from wave 0. So it won't spawn these enemies. So I'm actually going to set this back to 0. I'm going to change these number of enemies a bit so we can see a lot of them spawn. And that's all I'm going to change. Now, coming over here, we need to set the spawn points and the wave billboard, the new wave billboard we put down. So I'm going to go ahead and select this wave billboard in the level, press F4. See that it's called Dundef wave billboard _30. And I'm just going to go ahead and type that in to this _30. And I'm going to click on the note in the level, press F4, and I'm going to see that it's called note _11. What I'm going to go ahead and do is delete one of these notes and change this to note _11. Now the other thing you can do, because by default when you play in the level, it's going to be running as normal difficulty. So what you can do is click View, All Properties, go ahead and search PIE, which stands for Play in Editor, and change the Play in Editor difficulty to Nightmare. And that will give you a representation of how hard the level is going to be. So I'm just going to right click, play from here, and you'll see that this wave billboard's got 12 enemies spawning, and if I just press G, they should spawn. And there you go. Perfect. Now, we need to talk about the global scaling variables right now. Right here, I separated them all just to make it easier to see. You can see your enemy difficulty increase, which is how much they hurt, and the number multiplier right here, and per wave. These are the ones you need to adjust to make your map harder or more difficult. I'd recommend just opening a map like Akatiti and looking at what they have these things set to, because otherwise it's, you know, a shot in the dark otherwise. That'd be my recommendation. Another way you can scale your map is by coming into the content browser on the enemies in my collection, and you can see these are all the enemies in the game. And let's say you really want your orcs to be really tanky. Go ahead and search for enemy orc. Right click on it. Create a copy. Where it says package, you want to copy this into the name of your map. So for instance, mine is called DD_graveyard. We'll go ahead and name this enemy orc_graveyard. Okay. This is going to make a copy of it in your local map file, and you get to edit this. For instance, you can make their health scaled differently, or just have max health down here, literally like 1,000, and it will change the base health for this archetype. Now this isn't actually being used by the map yet, so right click, copy full name to clipboard, go ahead and open your Kismet, all the way down to that spawner again, and where you saw those wave entries, you're just going to go ahead and paste that in there, and now the new enemies that spawn will have higher health. In fact, just to prove that works, I'm going to copy it and go ahead and put the old ogres back there too, just so we can see two different types. Let's go ahead and search for orc is picked. Put it here. So now I've got one of the old and one of the new, and they should have different HP in the game. And this is a way to make like one type of enemy harder if you think it, you know, for unique mechanics. So you got this one that's 4,000 and this one that's 4,100. See, there's a bit, you know, there's different health there. Now the problem with this map at the moment is that it's starting from wave 0. If I do click play from here, you can see at the top right, it's wave 1 out of 7. Now most maps in the game actually start at wave 14, 15, just so they're a bit harder. So to change that, you click view, all properties, go ahead and search for start, and you can see there's this wave to start at value. Go ahead and change this to whatever you want. I'm going to change mine to 14. Now you're not done yet, because you also have to change that in the Kismet. Go ahead and click on wave number and change this to the same number you put into your world properties. And you also need to change the final wave number to be a bit higher, otherwise obviously the map won't work. So I'm going to put that to 17. And now when I right click, play from here, you can see that your top right, I'm on wave 14 out of 17. So let's talk about bosses now. If you open up your Kismet, go into the sequences, prefabs, put over wave spawners, and open up your boss fight. Here's a spawn boss spawner, as well as a spawn point and the actual boss itself. In here, you can change some of the settings to, you know, if you wanted to change the boss type and stuff like that. It's very similar how a normal wave spawner works, except there's no done death billboard. And up here, there's the boss fight spawners, and these are the enemies that spawn during the boss fight. Now, obviously, some maps actually don't have this, so you can, you know, unlink this if you wanted, but you can change in here, you know, the types of enemies that spawn during that boss wave. Now, if you've made your boss and you want to test it, if you go up to your root sequences, there's a skip to boss value. You change the value to 1, play your map, it will spawn the boss immediately without any of the, you know, waves beforehand, which is a great way to test because you don't have to wait for the boss every single time. As soon as I press G, it will just do the boss countdown. And what you can do as well with bosses specifically, you search up their boss name, and you'll see that you've got in the properties, you know, like we did with the ogres or orcs, we can change the health. But with bosses as well, if you type AI in here, you'll find the AI controller. Right here, the AI controller template. You search for this and go to the properties of this, you'll see that there's actually way more settings to change for bosses. For instance, the delay between rockets, or melee damage amount, stuff like that. There's loads of settings you can change with bosses in the AI controller. Like I said, you will have to make a copy of this, just like the enemies you've made before. But it is a good way to make fun boss fights in the game. So we can talk about paths now. If you go to your original level, you're going to be able to find this little P. Go ahead and drag this all the way to your main level. Make sure you put it just right above the floor. If it's too close, you'll see it says bad size. Just make sure you put it a bit above there. Now, the size of this is how big your paths are going to be. So if you have a big map, you might need to have multiple pylons. So go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste this. Bring mine up here as well. Make sure it's just off the floor. And I'm going to go ahead and build pathing. This is going to take a while, so I'm just going to stop recording and start it again. Now that my pathing is finished, I can go ahead and press P to see the pathing on the floor. Red is enemies can't walk there, green is they can go there, and white is a connection between two pylons. You can actually resize these by clicking on them and bringing it up and down. But I personally prefer just use multiple pylons. If you make them too big, they can bug out. So, and if you do see weird stuff happening with your random red lines or whatever, what you can do is go ahead and click View World Properties. Go ahead and go down all the way to your pathing settings right here, this nav mesh, and you can change some of these values around to see if it fixes it. The main one to change is the step size. That is step size right here. You can increase this a bit. I wouldn't go more than 60, and I wouldn't go less than 30. Just mess around with it and it might fix your issue. So now that you've got regular pathing into the game, I'm going to go ahead and grab the core and move it over just so it's obvious what the pathing is doing. I'm going to talk about flight paths now. So what I want to go ahead and do, click View, Browser Windows, Act Classes, go ahead and click on Navigation Point, Path Node, Volume Flight Path, and Flight Path Node. This is what you want. Right click onto the level and click Add Flight Path Node here. Now, this thing right here is a generic flight path for every flying enemy in the game. Press F4 on it and scroll down to radius. You might actually want to lower this radius right here to about 500 just to make it a little bit less big, because they are very big by default. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this around this corner and just copy and paste it over and over again to make a nice little line to my core. Perfect. Now this is the line to my core, and what I'm going to do is in my Kismet, I'm going to go ahead and go to my my spawner, and what I'm going to go do is add a second entry, and that entry is going to be the Wyvern. So I'm going to open up the content browser, click on enemies, push a Wyvern, one right here, full name to clipboard, I'm going to dump it in here. And instead of using this note, I'm going to actually use this flight path. So I'm going to press F4 on this, and it's flight path _10, flight path node _10. So I'm going to go ahead and go in here and click type flight path node _10. Now, if I right click, if I rebuild my pathing, which will take a little bit of time, in fact, I'll just cut here. So my pathing's just finishing up now. If I click P again, one of these, you can see that these lines form where the pathing nodes go. So I'm actually just going to click play from here because I've already got those wyverns set up. And we should see wyverns on this billboard over here. And if we press this G, we've still got the boss set up, which is quick to fix. Turn that off. We'll see now that these wyverns follow the pathing that we've just set up. So they go around this building rather than just trying to go directly through the door. Making a mini map for Dungeon Defenders is one of the more complicated things you can do because it requires you to use an external tool. So I'll show you how I make mini maps because it's the way I do it, but there's probably better ways to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click lit mode on my map and full screen this, so I have a nice top-down view, which is what a mini map is. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a snipping tool, take a snippet of the whole map like this, copy it, and I'm going to open up a photo editing tool like GIMP or Photoshop. Whatever you use, it doesn't really matter. Click File, New, and The key part of this is that every single image you import into Dungeon Defenders has to be a divisible by 8. So like 512 by 512 is a valid, or 1024 by 1024 is a valid resolution. Anything else will not import. So I'm going to do 1024 by 1024. I'm going to paste my image. I'm just going to scale it down just a little bit just so it fits. Now, there is a guide by Cr4zy which shows you all of the colors you need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this and put it into GIMP as well, just so I can pivot tool this. I'm going to make a new layer. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot tool the mid layer and just outline my map. Obviously, I'm not going to do this properly because this is a tutorial and this part takes quite a long time to do properly. But for now, I'm just going to do the most basic mini map of all time, just to, you know, make it nice and easy to copy. So here we are. I'm just going to outline the map. Obviously, you'd want to put way more care in if you're actually making a real map. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the lower levels tool in, and that's my map right there. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is click File, Export As, and make sure you export this as Targa, TGA, because that's the file format that Dungeon Defender uses to import. So I'm going to go ahead and name this Minimap and export it. And inside your Dungeon Defenders, I'm just going to restore this view. Go ahead into your content browser, go to your map, right click import, and find your minimap wherever you saved it. So my map is in documents and map. Okay, we'll now import it. Now what you want to go ahead and do is find your DunDef minimap, which is the big thing right here. Go ahead and move this to the bottom left of your minimap, right here for me. Now press F4 on this, go all the way down, this minimap background texture. What I need to do is go into my content browser, copy the full name of my new minimap and paste it in there. Now there are some things we got to change here. The original texture height. If you're using a 1024 texture by me, you might want to do 720 by 720 just to make it equal size because it's a square image. So if I right click and play right now, you'll see that it's all kind of messed up because it doesn't know the scale of our image. You see that the core is over to the left. It's all messed up. So what we're going to go ahead and do is keep playing with the DunDef minimap. Now this will take a lot of effort and work, just because it does take quite a lot of fiddling to get it correct. This is one of the more annoying things in Dungeon Defenders, honestly. Personally, what I would do is get the scale to like really, really low. Keep playing. And you'll see that right now, my core is nowhere near. So what I need to do is shift it to the left. So what that represents in the DunDef minimap, all the way at the bottom, the texture coordinates needs to move to the left. So probably the Y coordinate, and it probably, you know, let's just set it to 0 just to see what that does. Again, this takes a lot of tinkering, like more tinkering than I could do in this tutorial. You can see now that I'm actually off the top, so it's the opposite way. It was the opposite way that I needed to go. So let's go ahead and maybe set that to 1000 and set this to 1000 too. Again, I'm just guessing because all this really is just guessing over and over and over again until you get it right. You can see it doesn't even show up right now, so I've messed something up. But yeah, minimaps, it's just very annoying to constantly change this value until you get it right. The only help I can really give you is that you can put chests around your map, because you can see chests on the minimap. You can surround your map in chests, and it will make it a little bit easier to see where the bounds of your map is and line it up in the in this minimap. So this obviously has not worked. So 1000 was not right. I'm gonna set 500, 500. So now I'm down here. So I want to keep going down, and I want to keep going left. So obviously I'm not going to set this up fully right now, but I want to get it a little bit okay. So let's just set this to 600, or 700, 700. If I go up or down on both axes. You see I went down and to the right. So I want to go... So I'm actually kind of on the right Y. I'm just wrong on the X. I mean, again, you just keep playing with it until you get it into the right spot. Again, it's just like so much effort. However, you can get a little bit right eventually. Let's go ahead and set this one to like 300, see what that changes. Oh, that's pretty good. You look at that. The problem is the scaling is also wrong here, so if I run all the way to the end, it doesn't actually move that much. The scaling is also something else you need to change. You scroll down. The distance scale right here. So like walking up and down, which is the X axis, is not good enough. So I need to maybe increase that by quite a bit. Now if I play, you'll see that I run really fast across the whole map. Again, it's all about playing with it until you get it right. But you can see what I'm doing generally. Again, if you line your map with chests at the 4 corners, it actually makes it very easy because you can see how far off the character is. So once your minimap is all scaling correctly, you do also have to change your summoner Overlord XY position coordinates to allow summoner to go into Overlord mode. If you click view world properties and search for Overlord, you'll see this max XY bounds and min XY bounds, which if you think about it is just the square of your map where they can move their camera, as well as these max height and min height. If your map is really tall, you might have to change these to let them zoom out. I wish I could give you like good numbers for this, but you just have to play with it just like the minimap until you can get it looking correct. So you might want to change your map to have different game modes, such as the assault game mode, which has lives remaining. To do that, you click view world properties, search for game, and you can see this game info classes. You can click this drop down and you can select different ones. For instance, assault is probably the one you're looking for assault game mode. You can play with all these. Once you're ready to upload your map to the workshop, what you need to do is go ahead and save your map. Go back to the launcher, type your full map name in here and click cook mod map. And what it's going to do is it's going to add it to this local cooked mod maps. And what you can do is in your file explorer, if you click cooked mods, you can see it in here and in the cooked mods macOS X as well. So what you're going to do is click add update to cloud, and it's going to add it over here. And then you have to fill in the title and description. So I'm going to name it test map just for now. And testing, this is cool. There is a minimum character limit, so you do have to type something. Click publish to workshop. And what it's going to do is it's going to add it to your workshop maps as a map. You can see it's success. And I should be able to go to my Steam profile, go to my workshop items, and it should be right here. So that's how you get your map onto the workshop. Now, one thing to note is if your map is bigger than 100 kilobytes, it will not get added to the workshop. It will actually bug out and break. So you need to make sure you avoid that. And if you do go over that limit, you're gonna have to cut stuff out of your map. There's no other way around it. I hope this tutorial was useful for people, because when I first started the DDDK, some of this stuff completely eluded me, and I just hope that this video helps make some new event maps and stuff like that. So thank you for watching, and I'm sorry that I'm probably bad at making videos, but I figured some of this stuff needed to be said. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.